The LG G6 has been out for about 2 months now, and I did a couple videos on it. I did a hands-on early impressions. I did a couple versus videos. Now, I did use the phone for about 30 days originally, and then the Galaxy S8 came out, and then I stopped using the phone, and now I'm back to using it again, and now I'm comfortable of making my full review. Does the LG G6 live up to the hype, and is it the best flagship this year so far, or can it compete with other phones this year so far? I'm Kevin the Tech Ninja, and let's find out. Let's first start off with design. At face value, it's pretty good. The G6 is the first phone to rock that 18:9 aspect ratio for a tall device, yet a much more compact one. It's a bit on the thicker side, but that's to accommodate its larger battery. More on that soon. Traditionally, LG puts their volume rockers on the back, but with the G6, they're on the right-hand side. The buttons themselves are very tactile, and the fingerprint scanner too is well positioned for a quick unlock. That fingerprint scanner also doubles as a power button, and I actually like the location a lot. My finger just naturally rests there. So to use the fingerprint scanner or to use the power button, it's very simple to me. The G6 is rocking this hybrid metal and glass construction, which is very premium looking, and it feels really nice. And I just really like how the camera is flush with the body. It just gives it a really nice look, and there's nothing bulging out. It's just one smooth piece of glass. But something that is a bit confusing is material choice. LG is using Corning Gorilla Glass 5 on the back, Gorilla Glass 4 on the camera cover, and Gorilla Glass 3 on the screen. It's quite bizarre that LG would do that. It's kind of interesting. And Gorilla Glass 5 is a lot more scratch resistant than Gorilla Glass 3. So on the front, you may see blemishes here and there. You may get a couple of scratches. I know on my unit, I do have a couple scratches on the display already, but the back actually does look flawless. I have two different G6s. I have the bluish color and also the black color. The black shows fingerprints and grime like none other. So if you don't want to get a case, I do recommend getting a dbrand skin to keep the fingerprints and grime off. But on the other one, it doesn't retain fingerprints at all, but you can still get a skin. I'm not going to stop you, but this color is the better color in my opinion over the black G6. The G6 has a 5.7-inch LCD display, and it has Quad HD resolution. The near bezel-less look is really nice, but when you compare it directly to the S8, it just doesn't look the same. But regardless, I think the G6 as it stands alone is really nice in the hand, and it actually looks pretty good. Now when you actually look at the screen, the colors are really natural, viewing angles are great, but I don't think the screen gets as bright as other devices, and sometimes when in the sunlight, even with the screen maxed out, it is kind of hard to see. Now there definitely is a drawback using an 18:9 aspect ratio device, because you'll be likely to see black bars on the sides on almost every video on the internet, because they're all shot in a traditional 16:9 aspect ratio. I think it takes away a little bit of the experience, and it does actually shrink your screen size when consuming media of any sorts. Now to top it off, there is an app scaling feature on the G6, but you can't use it for all apps. So for example, on YouTube, there's not a way to scale the YouTube app so it does full screen as of this video. On other devices with the same aspect ratio, there's a button you can press that can change it dynamically. The G6 has it when it comes to games, and even then you do have certain options, but some games are not compatible with the format, and you kind of get an error message and then it just doesn't look right. But if you can deal with the black bars here and there to get a skinnier phone, then I don't think it's that big of a deal, but for a lot of people it definitely does bother them. The bottom mono firing speaker is average, and it can also be covered with one hand, which when you're gaming, it's pretty tough to actually enjoy it because your hand covers it most of the time. Now it does have water resistance, which is IP68, so it makes it resistant to dust and water up to 1.5 meters and 30 minutes. Now, I have the quad DAC version of the G6, so the improved audio is noticeable if you have some high-end earphones, but Out of the box, it didn't deliver that great of experience until I upgraded my headphones. But most of the time I use Bluetooth, and a lot of people use Bluetooth, so that's not a selling point for me. But if you want to listen to high quality audio from a mobile device, you can definitely do it here. Just granted you have the proper hardware. Now inside, it is rocking Qualcomm Snapdragon 821 processor, octa-core at 2.35 GHz, and it has 4 GB of RAM. You couple that with LG's software on top of Android 7.0, and the experience is actually pretty good. But when you start to heavy multitask and you really start to use the phone for a while, you do start seeing shudders compared to other phones in the same price point. Now to me, I'm not a huge fan of skins in general, but it seems like LG's skin is still kind of cartoony and it does feel a bit heavy. Even when you turn the phone on the very first time, all of your icons are sprawled all over your home screen like an iPhone. You actually have to go into settings and then set it up for the app drawer instead of all the icons on the screen. And to me, that's backwards. Android has always had an app drawer, and I just kind of feel LG is trying to make it more iPhone friendly versus more Android friendly. LG has been known for their cameras, and LG does not disappoint almost any year, and there's no exception with the G6. The primary dual 13 megapixel cameras is one of the best I've used on a smartphone, period, including the Galaxy S8. And you take some really great looking pictures, especially in the day. There are tons of manual controls and they're very impressive to me, but sometimes I did feel that software processing was a bit too harsh. It does make very contrasty images, which looks really good, but also sometimes they borderline fake. There's actually like a noticeable blue tint to them sometimes. But where the camera really shines for me is using the wide angle lens. It's almost magical to capture so much detail in one shot with just a tiny little lens. At night, the camera performs well with some great dynamic range, and noise reduction I think is pretty good, and I think it does handle the exposure of lights very nicely. Video recording is also done at 4K and it can do a great job, but sometimes I think that the stabilization could use a little bit of work. It has optical stabilization, but sometimes you get that jelloing effect when you're using it. As for the front megapixel camera is 5 megapixels. It does a good job in ideal lighting, making for some true color selfies, and it also has its own wide angle mode, which is good for group selfies, but using at night is atrocious. Pictures come out blurry and out of focus, and I don't recommend using it at night. So as you can see, overall the LG G6 camera suite is good. Tons of shooting modes, you have nice HDR. It is a little heavy on the processing side, but overall, it's a really good camera. There's been times where I went out and just took the G6 instead of taking my other camera to take pictures when you go to the park, go to the zoo, or whatever. It's just really nice. So as I said before, the G6 phone is a little bit thicker than other phones, which allows for a larger battery. And this device comes with a 3,300 milliamp battery. But over my usage, I was expecting a bit more. I get around 4 hours of screen on time, which I think is very poor for a flagship like this one. Yeah, it does have a 2K display to run, and yes, you do have options for fast charging, which can take that 0% to 100 in just over 2 hours with USB-C. It does have wireless charging too, but of course, wireless charging is pretty slow too. But it just is a disappointment that the battery just didn't last long. Really not sure why. So my conclusion is this: if you like LG phones already, then the G6 is just the natural upgrade you should get. Now, after using this phone for 60 days, it's kind of hard to ignore the elephant in the room that LG has had build issues in the past. They also have had boot loop issues where phones eventually just stop coming on. So that is something that does kind of sit in the back of my mind even when reviewing this phone. Haven't had any issues like that, but that is something that sort of worries me in the background. So we'll watch this phone a little bit longer and kind of see how it evolves and see how it gets better. But if you are in the market for a phone, you like LG, this phone is really good. It's fantastic, and also this is probably one of the cheaper flagship phones you can actually buy right now. So if you want a flagship phone but you don't want to spend $800-900, this is probably the best phone you can buy. My name is Kevin the Tech Ninja. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe to my channel for more great videos and giveaways. I'll talk to you guys later.
KTTN, say it again. Tell a friend that it's him again. Yo, real talk, opinions gonna be sharper than 4K. Scope Squad, eat it up, simmer it, saute. Ninja got reviews and brands galore. You ain't never seen a channel like this before. No hashtag.